What up, though, everybody? Welcome back to a new episode of One Mic, where I watch shit so you don't have to. And this time I'm back to talk about season one, episode 3 of Marvel's WandaVision on Disney Plus. Um, I toured this show a new asshole last week. I really didn't like the first 2 episodes. I'm still kind of in a place where I feel like this show is not for me. And I realize what it is that I don't like about it. Um, the suspension of disbelief that is necessary at this point is more than I'm comfortable with. So what I mean by that is, let's say you have a dream, right? And you wake up from that dream, and when you remember the dream, which for me is a rarity, but let's say you remember the dream and you're reflecting on it, and you're thinking like, wait, this happened in the dream, this happened in the dream, but none of that makes sense. But while you were dreaming, you within the dream, none of those things that didn't make sense stood out. Like it was like dream you thought all this shit was normal, and then you wake up and you reflect on that dream, you're like, none of that shit makes sense. That's this show. The characters within it they don't acknowledge a lot of the shit that I look at, and I'm like, that's fucking dumb. And the reason for that is because this world's not real. So there's no like, they don't think it's weird because they're still in the dream per se. Whereas, I, outside of the dream, I'm looking at it, I'm like, this shit is dumb. Like, for instance, in this latest episode, there's what's the one that really irked me? Oh, well, no, actually, no. Here's a example that exists in all 3 episodes. The fact that everyone calls Vision. Who, like, do you know anybody in real life that has a name like Vision, like their actual name, and not an ironic insult because they have poor eyesight? Like, no, like somebody who's actually named Vision, and you just call them Vision, and that's their name. Is there anyone like that? No. But no one seems to think in the 1950s that it's odd that there's just somebody named Vision. And like within this dream, we're gonna call it, a guy being named Vision isn't weird. Like, that's fine, and no one notices that. But like me, I'm sitting here like, man, this is kind of weird. Everybody's calling him Vision. Like, what a weird name. So in this episode, actually at the end of the last episode, we see Wanda pregnant out of nowhere. And in this episode, we get the entire 9-month pregnancy in about 20 minutes. And there's a scene where the one black girl, I think her name is, what is it, Gwendolyn, or I can't remember her name, but the black girl that she met at the pool party in the second episode with Dottie at Dottie's house, I believe her name was Dottie. She comes over, and for one, she just walks right in the house, which is weird to me. Like, if you knock on my door and I open the door, like, yes, you ask if you can come in, like, you just stroll in like you own the place. But anyway, she walks in the house, and Wanda's like fully showing like 9 months pregnant belly, and she hides this pregnant belly by putting on a coat, which wouldn't work, hiding it behind a small bowl of fruit, and hiding it behind a small plant. None of these things, like, and I'm sitting here the whole time like, how does this character not see that she's pregnant? Like, what the fuck? Like, you can't have a 9-month belly behind a bowl of 5 apples. Like, you just can't. But again, within the context of this world, it's acceptable for me to think those sorts of things that don't make sense to me being outside of it would be acceptable to these characters who are within it. But even though my brain accepts that as this is what's happening, as it's almost like me headcanoning the fact that, well, not the fact that, but the idea that the showrunner, director, whatever, doesn't think this shit is stupid. Like, I think they know it's stupid, and we're supposed to accept that it's what I said, kind of like the dream scenario. But I can't shut that off. So I'm watching, and I'm like, this is dumb, and none of the characters in the show are saying this is dumb. And then you throw it on top of the fact that, like, the immersion, when I talk about the immersion, like, this episode's in the 70s, right? So the aspects of it that take place in the 70s need to be entertaining for me in some form or fashion. And the 50s, 60s, 70s, all that kind of, like, it's not entertaining, it's not interesting, it's not funny. It's just like, it's like bad camp. And the thing about bad camp is, like, camp's supposed to be bad, but it's making fun of itself, kind of. Like, that. Like, it's like a nudge, an elbow nudge. Like, yeah, this shit's dumb, right? But I feel like this is meant to be taken at face value. Like, hey, look at what we're doing. We have these characters in these previous decades. We've added laugh tracks. We've added fake commercials, like all of this to kind of like immerse you into this 50s, 60s, 70s world. But the problem is that it's not entertaining. The commercials are dumb, like real dumb. They don't have anything to do with anything. The show's not funny. They add in laugh tracks for unfunny things, like, and it's like, I find no entertainment from that. This episode was easily the best of the three, which isn't saying much, but that's because they broke the immersion a lot. And I like the immersion breaking. I like to see the cracks in this world, and that piece of it is interesting. But like the fact that after 3 episodes, we have very little time spent breaking that world, a lot of time spent in it, and the time we spend in it is not entertaining, makes this show not watchable for me. Like, I just don't like it. Like, I don't like watching this show. I have a little bit of curiosity as to how it's going to play out, but that's mainly through the lens of how is this going to integrate into the MCU, as opposed to I'm just curious about this story. I'm not curious about this story. I mean, I am, but like only a little bit. Like, I mean, I'm curious to know, but not curious enough to watch the rest of the episodes. I'm going to watch the rest of the episodes because I don't want to miss anything that might tie into the films. But yeah, I don't know, man. This episode was entertaining a little bit because of the constant immersion breaking, like the black neighbor Herb, him like cutting into that wall, that concrete wall. The black girl, I can't remember her name. I know it starts with a G, I think, but I can't remember her name. But like her mentioning that Wanda's brother was killed by Ultron, that was super cool. But like all of those immersion breaking aspects, when you start to see the foundation crack, that's interesting to me. But these stories within these worlds are not interesting, and I feel like you can't drag out, say you got a 23 minutes of episode. I feel like you can't really give me 20 minutes within this world and have it not be entertaining. And when I'm sitting here like, okay, this isn't funny, it's not interesting, and then I have to sit here and kind of like push away all the dumb shit I'm seeing, like her trying to hide her belly behind a bowl of like 5 apples. Like, that's just not possible. So I'm sitting here like, it's pulling me out of it. And even though I can headcanon this and go, you know, this world is fake, and this is me coming up with these things on my own. The show's not telling me this. The show's not telling me that they are immersed in a dream. Not yet. I mean, it seems like that's where they're going, whether it's a dream or a world that's been constructed. But like, the show's not telling me that. I'm saying that the way it's set up reminds me of when you are reflecting on one of your own dreams. And that's the only way that I can even look at this and go, I'm gonna finish this episode. Because like if I took that at face value, I'd just be cutting that shit off. Like, you are not gonna sit here and expect me to believe that she don't see a 9-month pregnant belly behind a bowl of fruit. Like, you can't expect me to believe that. So I have to come up with an explanation that makes sense to me, which is that these characters within this world don't think that these things are weird as they are happening because they are in this world, as opposed to me being an outside observer. So I don't like this show. Another thing I don't like people making it sound like this is like some wildly creative or wildly complex or deep concept. It is not. Like, it's taking 50, 60, 70 sitcoms, throwing Wanda and Vision in there. Like, that's not creative. Like, you're not some elite, sophisticated consumer of art to sit there with a monocle on and like, this is an amazing show. No, you're a dick. It's not that good. It's trying, but it's not. It's just, it's not confusing. It's not a difficult concept. It's barely a creative concept. Like, if you gave me them immersed in these worlds, but it was like the breaking of the world, and maybe it was moving at a faster pace or something like that, then maybe. But like the fact that I have to sit here and go and say things like, it's not interesting, it's not entertaining, it's not funny, that's not me not getting it. It's a simple concept. I get it. You don't have to be too sharp to get it. It's just not that good. And I see potential for it to break out in the future episodes as this world cracks and we find out what's going on. But if you got a 9-episode season and you're 3 episodes in, you're a third of the way into this show, and it's just not interesting. It's not entertaining. So like, I can't recommend this show. Like, I don't think it's very good. It can get there. There's a lot of potential for it. But these scenes with them living in these various decades and these sitcoms, they are just not good. And the only reason this episode was watchable was because it spent it spent a lot of time breaking that immersion. And then the last thing that I want to say about this show, and I said it in the last episode, I'm going to say it again. I don't understand why people aren't more mad about the 7 minutes of credits. We're talking. This episode had a 32-minute runtime. Let's round it up for 35 minutes for the sake of math. That means 20% of your episode is credits. Like, how are we not pissed off about that? Like, you're really gonna give us 23 minutes out of 30 for the actual show? It's bad enough that it's only 30 minutes. Like, make these shows 45 minutes at least, for WandaVision, Mandalorian, whatever. I don't need to see they don't need to be less than 45 minutes. But if you're gonna make them less than 45 minutes, you better pack a lot of shit into that 20-something minutes. And those first 2 episodes were packed with shit, but not good shit. So, like, it's spending 23 minutes out of in this case, we had a 32-minute runtime. So 25 minutes out of a 32-minute runtime, and only a small portion of that is interesting, and it's only the part that deviates from, like, the main theme of the episode or the show so far, is disheartening. So, again, I'm not a big fan of this one so far. I'm gonna keep watching it solely for the purposes of making sure that I don't miss anything that might tie into the other shows or tie into the movies. But right now, all the show really is to me is 2 of the most boring characters on the Avengers being showcased in a boring show. And when they break the immersion, that's the only time it's interesting. But even they're even dragging their feet with that. So I don't really see too much potential in this show. I might not even keep reviewing it for the purposes of this channel. Maybe I'll pop back up if a good episode comes along. But I'll keep watching it. Maybe I'll pop back in with a review if I think there's a decent episode that just played. But otherwise, I'm not a fan. I don't have any interest in this show, and I don't really recommend it. It's I don't know. It's not that good. Peace.